Boxing Truth here, back with another video. I want to talk about a situation that's brewing in the sport of boxing, as Al Haymon is beefing with WBO. Al Haymon is out of his mind with the disrespect and not acknowledging the champions in the WBO. Of the WBO, the WBO right now is pretty much the best belt in boxing because they don't do all that bullshit. They don't have regular champions, they don't have gold champions, they don't have interim title lists unless it's absolutely necessary in case the defending champion is hurt or injured and can't defend his title. Really, the WBO follows all of its rules. It doesn't have the strongest ranking sometimes, but they're respectable. I mean, they'll enforce mandatories when it's necessary. They only have one champ per division. They don't do this regular nonsense. And yet, Haymon has decided not to acknowledge these cats. Paco's going to have a sit down with Al, talk some sense into him, because right now, the WBO strap is the most respectable title in boxing right now. The most, even though hasn't been recognized as long as the WBC or WBA, the WBO right now is the most respectable title. And if I was a fighter, I want my hands on the WBO strap. I want to be a WBO king. Who wouldn't want to be a WBO king? So the beef is intensifying between Al Haymon, PBC, and WBO, as they have acknowledged that they are no longer recognizing as a major title. And if you look in WBO rankings, you can see that there's definitely beef going on between PBC, Al Haymon, and WBO. There is only currently one champion from the PBC that has ties to Al Haymon, and that is Andy Ruiz Jr., even though they didn't acknowledge him as a WBO champion during the Pacquiao-Thurman pay-per-view broadcast. So you look at the division, you look at the rankings in every division, they only have one fighter in the heavyweight division that has ties to Al Haymon, and that's Oscar Rivas. Cruiserweights, that doesn't really count. It's very international. Not many American-based promoters fuck with the cruiserweight division. So let's see, light heavyweight. Kovalev, a worthy WBO king, about to face off against Anthony Yarde. There is no Al Haymon promoted fighter here. Elder Alvarez had ties to Al Haymon in the past, but now he is tied with Top Rank for at least the near future. Super middleweight, Billy Joe Saunders, another worthy WBO king. There is no Al Haymon fighter of note here, so nobody's ranked in there. Demetrius Andrade, not a worthy WBO king. He has had a pedestrian reign as WBO king in the middleweight division. Was given the strap after Saunders tested positive. Faced off against his best opponent to date in Selecki. Outboxed him into a boring routine decision. So that's why Andrade can't get any big fights. He just bores people to death. Only Deryevchenko has ties to Al Haymon in the rankings of the WBO in the middleweight division. That's only one fighter there. Haymon Munguia, another worthy WBO king. I don't know how the hell Kell Brook is rated number one when he hasn't fought at all this year and hasn't fought any worthy contenders in the junior middleweight division. So, like I said before, the rankings are not perfect in the WBO, but they're a respectable organization. No Al Haymon fighter of note here that I can see at junior middleweight. Moving on, Terrence Crawford, a worthy WBO king. Too bad he's on the wrong side of the street. Even though Crawford says that a street doesn't exist, across the street don't exist, there's definitely a line in between two of those organizations. And that's why he can't get the fights that he truly wants. Has been blocked out of the welterweight division as the PBC is going through a mini tournament with the other straps. and Crawford's gonna end up facing Kavagauskas, a fight nobody really wants to see. He's not the most dangerous contender out there, and he has a problem dealing with boxers. Crawford should dismantle Kavagauskas in a routine fashion, and we'll see what Crawford does thereafter. There are two Al Haymon represented fighters here, though. You got Danny Garcia, who's rated number 3, and you got Sergey Lipinets, a very good fighter under PBC stable. I can't wait to see Lipinets mix it up with some of the top welters. I would love to see Lipinets fight Danny Garcia. I think Lipinets would beat Danny Garcia. Luis Collazo, formerly tied to Al Haymon, but now is with Top Rank. Was supposed to fight Jose Benavidez, but I think that fight was scrapped. No other Al Haymon fighter of note. Super lightweight, junior welterweight, Jose Ramirez just regained the WBO strap, is now a WBO king, a worthy WBO king. But no Al Haymon fighters of note here. No Al Haymon fighters ranked in the WBO at junior welterweight. Lightweight, you got Lomachenko, a worthy WBO king. But no Al Haymon fighters of note. Lee Selby was formerly tied to Al Haymon. Not sure he's still with him anymore. Pedraza is no longer with Al Haymon, is now with Top Rank. Balmaz Verdejo, a disappointment. Luke Campbell's about to fight Lomachenko, so no Al Haymon fighters of note. Jamal Herring, the Fighting Marine, WBO king in the junior lightweight division. But no Al Haymon fighters of note. None, no Al Haymon fighters here. Featherweight, Oscar Valdez is about to duck Shakur Stevenson. Hopefully he gets a big fight, so that fight could be excused. Maybe Burchell is next for Oscar Valdez. Valdez is, I think, is physically done. Too many injuries. The fight with Quaig really took a lot out of him. Don't see much going forward for Oscar Valdez. Just not a bad fighter, just not elite. No Al Haymon fighters of note. So none in the featherweight division. Carl Frampton, I don't think is no longer. He's no longer tied to Al Haymon. Featherweight, Navarrete tied to Top Rank. No Al Haymon fighters of note. This is the furthest I'm gonna go at bantamweight. Prince Patel took an L recently. Bum ass. So Tete's a WBO king. That's the only interim titleist. I believe Tete is hurt or injured, pulled out of the tournament. So they only put interim titleists if absolutely necessary. But if you look, let's look at welterweight. I mean, Al Haymon fighters. You see WC full of Al Haymon fighters: Danny Garcia, Sergey Lipinets, Ugas, Josecito Lopez, Andre Berto, Jamal James, Omar Figueroa. So WC is in goodies with Al Haymon. Shitload of Al Haymon fighters. Pretty much an Al Haymon ranked division. Al Haymon ranked nothing but Al Haymon ranked fighters in welterweight for WC. Same thing for WBA. Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, Jamal James, Sergey Lipinets, the IBF, Lipinets, Berto, Jamal James. And you got Spence's the champion. So you see the difference, especially with the WBC. I mean, Lubin, Charlo, Jarrett Hurd, Austin Trout, Tara Goshaw, all Al Haymon represented fighters. Same thing in middleweight. Halim, Matsy Kordobov, Deryevchenko, Jamal Charlo, super middleweight, you got Eubank, Durrell, Truax, Gutowski, Peter Quillen, all Haymon presented fighters. So this is a problem going forward because even the sanctioning bodies are having trouble enforcing these fights. One good example is in the super featherweight division. You got 3 champions for the WBA. You got Gervonta Davis, who was given the super strap when he fought what's his fucking name? He fought some dude coming off a loss and knocked him out in the second round. I can't remember the guy's name for some reason, but he was gifted that belt after he knocked that dude out. Cancio was the one who beat the recognized super champion, though Corrales, who just recently fought, didn't make weight and had to relinquish the title. And the guy that Gervonta beat is not even rated here. Just can't remember his name. So the example, this is a perfect example. The sanctioning body of the WBA, for some reason, won't enforce a Gervonta Davis Andrew Cancio fight to truly determine who is the real super champion of the WBA division. That's a fight that should actually be ordered. But since Cancio is a Golden Boy promoted fighter and Davis is without Haymon, the WBA is having trouble enforcing that fight. So instead, they enforced Davis to fight Ricardo Nunez, even though he wasn't the #1 contender in that division. That was Randy Alvarado, who was a Golden Boy promoted fighter. So there you go. This is a problem going forward. The sanctioning bodies are having trouble enforcing fights between Al Haymon and Golden Boy promoted fighters. Same thing in the featherweight division. Kanzu, who is an interesting fighter promoted by Golden Boy, should get his shot at Leo Santa Cruz. For some reason, they won't enforce that fight. Kanzu is a worthy contender, regular champion. I mean, this is ridiculous what the WC is doing too. I mean, look at all these bullshit belts, extra belts. Morero is the gold champion. He just took an L recently against Nyambar. I can't say his name. Pretty good fighter. But Kanzu should get his shot. But since he's with Golden Boy, he's probably never going to get his shot, since Santa Cruz is being protected by the WBA. I think Kanzu would beat Leo Santa Cruz. Might even box his socks off. Too bad we might not get to see that fight. I think Davis beats Cancio, but Cancio's a tough guy. You know, workman-like type fighter. Be an interesting fight. Better than the opponents that Mayweather has lined up for Davis, like Wash Gamboa, the fucking featherweight coming off a loss he fought, Francesca. You know, be better than the guys he's been fighting at least. So there's definitely something going on with the sanctioning bodies. Now they're becoming segregated. It's not even the networks anymore. Now the sanctioning bodies are having trouble enforcing these fights, especially when it comes to different promotional affiliations. It's all good when it's a fighter tied to the same promoter. The fights are enforced easily. For example, when Jarrett Hurd had to defend his title against Julian Williams, as he was the #1 contender. But the WC couldn't enforce a Canelo Alvarez-Jamal Charlo fight. Heyman's team never really pushed for that fight, and Canelo was given the franchise tag. So there you go. The IBF is the only organization right now that will have the balls to enforce a fight between a Golden Boy promoted fighter and an Al Haymon affiliated fighter. For example, Canelo and Sergey Derevyanchenko are in deep talks for a possible fight later this year. The WBC is pretty much an Al Haymon belt. Same thing in the light heavyweight division. There hasn't been an enforcement between Marcus Brown, Al Haymon presented fighter, going against Volstik. Looks like Volstik's going to fight Beterbiev. Actually, it's been announced for unification fight. Same thing in the WBA. Brown's the #1 contender, a worthy contender at that. For some reason, there hasn't been an order for Bivol to defend his strap against Marcus Brown. So this is a problem going forward, man. Dylan White has been the #1 contender for 2 years. WC won't give him his shot, and he's probably never gonna get his shot after this mess that's going down with Dylan White's last fight, supposedly testing positive and keeping it under the wraps. You can kiss Dylan White's shot goodbye with WBC. I don't see him ever getting his shot against Deontay Wilder. So there's problems within the sanctioning bodies. There's beef going on between promoters and certain sanctioning bodies, and as a result, the sanctioning bodies are having trouble enforcing fights between different fighters that have different promoter affiliations. Only the IBF has the balls to enforce these fights, which is why you got to give some credit to the IBF. They don't give a fuck what line is between the promoters. They don't give a fuck that it's across the street. They're gonna enforce that fight no matter what. They go by their rules. Every 9 months for any division below heavyweight, every year in the heavyweight division. So right now the IBF is the only one with enough stones to enforce these fights. The WBO, a respectable organization, who wouldn't want to be a WBO king? But there's beef going on between the promoters and the sanctioning bodies. That's why these fights are not getting made. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this situation. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.